Hi everyone, another day. So what I thought I would do today is go over exemplification with you guys so that for those of you who are going to see me later in the week, we could get more in detail. For those of you who aren't, you'll have notes, which I will put up also, and this video. So really, exemplification is exactly what it says. It's the giving of an example. So you have your idea, your belief, your opinion, something that maybe even is a question that has to answer and that has to be answered. And then what you do is you give either a huge example, meaning one example. So if I said to you, where in the book is there evidence that, Skeet killed the two women, you might pull a couple of different options, or you may pull one large example. Either way is fine. But it has to illustrate your question or your idea or your theme. Really, really, really important that it does that. And usually it starts with your intro, and then you define your subject or your thesis. You state what you're going to do in the paper, which is going to exemplify or show examples. And then you're going to have your body paragraphs. So body paragraph 2, 3, and 4 are going to actually use examples to support your thesis, to support your argument, and to support your abstract idea. The conclusion actually will restate what your thesis or subject matter was, which you stated in paragraph 1, and it would offer some kind of brief, interesting ending to show your audience that, they've come this far with you and it's been worth it. I apologize. My notes are on my side, so I may be looking at them a couple of times. The key with this exemplification, and you'll see this when I put the notes up later, is that really the examples have to be specific. They have to be written in a vivid way, so usually in present tense, not past tense, active tense. And they have to actually, add the who, why, how, what, when, so that they're answering these questions with evidence from either the video or the film, the TV show, the artwork, the literature, whatever it is, but they're making connections between your argument and what's on the page. The best way really to think about this, and we've talked about brainstorming, is to sit down and you have an exemplification essay this week. I asked you to give me examples to support what you believe the phrase above Rob's school means. And so really what you're going to do is, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write something like, the phrase above the school means the following. And then you're going to brainstorm 10 words, 10 keywords that you think it might mean. Maybe it means community, maybe it means responsibility, maybe it means the importance of education. There really is no right or wrong, it's just how you support it. So you're going to pick 10 keywords and then go back, look at those keywords, figure out which works the best and which you have support for, and pick 3 of them. So you have the 3 for paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. Now, the key thing here is that you have to have detailed examples to support your argument. And many of you have seen my notes to you already that say support, support, support. There are a couple ways to support. You can summarize, you can paraphrase, you can synthesize, you can quote. Usually, it is easiest to quote. But if it's something that really doesn't have a clear quote quote about it, but something that you're thinking about is a little bit more abstract, that's okay. Just explain where you think in the book it really supports that argument, okay? The examples or the arguments are usually arranged in some sort of logical order. A lot of times people do it from the least important argument to the most important argument, or you could do it the most important argument to the least. You know, writers and professors argue that it really should be least to most because then you ensure people keep reading. But sometimes you'll find that you really start with the most and move to the least, and it works the best. So that's fine. Just remember that, like, you really need details. You really, really, really need to explain what you're arguing. So let's take the Brent Staples piece. It's a pretty famous piece. Staples is a pretty well-known journalist and now an editor of the Washington Post. And in this, he's really talking about really what's happening in America right now, the profiling or stereotyping of young African-American men. And he starts the essay out with the greatest line. My first victim was a white woman, well-dressed, probably in her early 20s. And then he goes on to introduce what he's going to talk about when he says, it was in the echo of that terrified woman's footfalls that I first began to know the unwieldy inheritance I'd come into, the ability to alter public space in ugly ways. It was clear that she thought herself the quarry of a mugger, a rapist, or worse. He's introduced very clearly that he's going to talk about this kind of epiphany he has as he's, walking down the street, that white women in particular are afraid of him for no reason, but they cross the street or they walk faster. So he's giving us the abstract idea. And then the rest of the essay, he gives us examples to support that idea. So he tells us about, women who walked faster. He tells us about how when he went to his overnight job, they thought he was a robber. He tells us about how his friend was taken into custody simply because he was African American for a crime that he obviously didn't commit. He gives us really clear examples. They all are a secondary source, meaning they're, well, actually, no, let me take that back. Staples' examples are primary source. They're examples from his own experience. But when he's talking about other people's experience, that's secondary source. So you can see that he has an abstract idea profiling black men in America and what it feels like to be a black man in white spaces. And then he defines it by giving us vivid, clear examples that really answer the question, well, what are you talking about? Who's involved? Why is this important? And how potentially does it impact those people involved? He really answers those journalistic questions. So we'll talk more about exemplification later in the week. For those of you in the hybrid class, we won't, but I'm going to put up some notes. Please know that my notes are notes. So really what I do is just put ideas down on the page. When I come into class, I have something to just sort of, use to jar my memory. So they're notes. Be safe today. It is exceptionally icy out. And I will see you later in the week.